Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to New World All-Star Live chat. I'll be with you for the next probably hour. I'm probably going to do a quick one today. Hello, Annie. Say hi to Annie. Everybody, my trusty moderator, volunteer moderator. We appreciate you very much. Let's get set up here. Yeah, it looks good. Adjusted my background a little bit. I had to lower it. Looks a little bit more consistent. Well, happy Wednesday, guys. We're going to talk about New Age spiritualism. And I just want to say out the chute that you do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. There's no judgment on my part. Discernment, yes. But judgment and discernment are not the same thing. And to the narcissistic gaslighter, those things are exactly the same, and they're going to tell you things like, you're just playing semantics. Nope. If the stove is hot, should you touch it? Is touching the hot stove bad? Okay. Well, that's judgment. You judged the stove. You called it bad. No. Well, see, now, Kurt, you're just playing with words. No, I'm not. I'm explaining the difference between judgment and discernment. One soul, hello. Happy Wednesday. By the way, if you haven't heard, you can find me over here. I'm on lots of different platforms. Obviously here on YouTube, it's my favorite place. And then I'm also over here on this platform here. And let's see, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I just hit 10,000 followers on TikTok. So if you like TikTok, I'm over there too. We don't really talk about, twin flames or anything over here, but lots of law of attraction stuff. And I've got some new content that's going to post Friday. So my goal is over here every Friday to post a video at least once a week, every single Friday. So let's get to the matter at hand. New Age spiritualism, which I lovingly refer to as New Cage spiritualism, which I think is a psyop. I think perhaps someone or something more nefarious is behind it. And I don't want to say out loud who I think it is. Please do not type this in the chat box. Please do not say this. But, on record, these guys admitted that they created the term conspiracy theory. These guys created the term conspiracy theory. They said they did that. And, it's very interesting the different ways that the system, the bad guys, the elite scumbags, as I call them, the New World hoarders, right? It really ends with the word order, New World, and then something that rhymes with hoarder, which is a real thing. George H.W. Bush, he went on a NWO tour. And he was just talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And, he's very, very connected, HW, to these guys. And I could name names all day long. I'm not going to go too deep into that component. Go over here if you want to go really deep into that component. So I'm just kind of grazing the surface of what's going on here. And again, it's not a conspiracy theory. All of this stuff is on record. The elite scumbags that think they run the world, and they're losing grip of their power quickly. Their power is fading, but they are the ones who say that they're doing these things. You see, it's not a conspiracy theory if it's true. It's a conspiracy. Well, anyway, New Age spiritualism, I think, is an inside job. And it might have actually started out okay. This is usually how the black ops, how they do things. This is usually how they do things. They don't, I mean, they stage things on purpose too. They do that. They stage things on purpose too. But a lot of what they do is opportunistic. They are masterful opportunists. The New World, something that rhymes with hoarders. And they're hoarders too. They hoard all the resources, right? The big banks and the corporations and the government and all that. Now, so, the New Age movement, it might have started out okay, but it was co-opted, and it's kind of a farce to call it New Age. You don't need New Age. It's like saying I need to reinvent the wheel. I noticed a lot of butthurt people clicking the dislike on my live chat announcement video. I do the little video first where I announce the live chat, and it got one of the lowest likes to dislike ratio I've ever gotten, which was about 95%. And I've never really gone below like 96, 97. And so I know I must be on point. You know what flak is? Like World War II, you'd have bomber airplanes flying over the target, dropping bombs on the bad guys. The Allies, they'd be over Berlin during World War II, dropping bombs on the Nazis, hopefully on the factories. You try to not hit civilians. It's impossible, but at least you try. That's what you should do. That's why you should just not have war in the first place. But I'm just making it, this is just an analogy, so never mind all that stuff. But the bad guys, they shoot flak at you, right? Or even like when the Nazis would try to bomb England, Britain, the British would shoot flak at the Nazis' airplanes flying over. So a saying emerged. You're right over the target when you're getting the most flack. So the fact that this topic is the most unpopular topic I've ever posted on my YouTube channel must mean I'm right on point. I'm right over the target. And we're going to talk about non-duality and how really to win, and we talked about this a little bit last week, but I talk about this a lot. To win is to not fight back. It's to just be aware. And so this live stream, for example, is just education. An example I often use is a vampire. How would you know that there was a vampire at your door unless you knew what one looked like? And he might show up after the sun goes down with a briefcase looking like a vacuum cleaner salesman, and he's going, oh, you should let me into your house. I'm your buddy. I'm your friend. And he's talking funny because he wants to hide his teeth, right? And then you let him in and then he bites you, right? Now, if you know what the rules are, you would never let him in. With a vampire, they can't come into your house unless you allow them in, no matter what. But they can try to trick you. And so this whole New Age thing is part of that. And I just want to say reincarnation, by the way, is not New Age. It's not New Age. New Age is an inside job. New Age is an inside job, and we don't even need New Age. It's an inside job. New Age, spiritualism. It's these guys. It's these guys. It's the New World, something that rhymes with hoarders. Okay, which is not a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory if it's true. And again, go over here. I'll go a lot deeper into that. Here's the thing about New Age spiritualism. You don't need it. You don't need it. Also, New Age spiritualism, it's not only not spiritual, it's really difficult to define. That's the whole thing of New Age spiritualism. If you were to ask me, well, what is New Age spiritualism? It's whatever the hell you want it to be. It's anything you like. And that kind of, watch this, that really falls in line with a lot of the things that we're seeing in society today. Very, very dangerous things that are being done in society today. Ideas that are being put out there in society today. And again, you guys, this isn't to judge or to bash. This is discernment. The first thing I talked about in today's live stream was that there's a legitimate and important difference between discernment and judgment. If you don't have discernment and a vampire shows up at your house, you're going to let him into your house accidentally. If you know what the rules are, if you know what a vampire is and you know what the rules are, you would never let him into your house. And the way that the vampires of the New World, something that rhymes with hoarders, again, I made a video about it right over here. I'm going to post every Friday on here, a new video from now on. So help me God. Something that they do to trick you is, here's my analogy. The vampire goes to the neighbor's house and maybe finds one of your neighbors who's kind of a scumbag, and they go, hey man, I'll give you $10,000 if you go over to so-and-so's house, go over to Kurt's house and set fire to the back porch. And the scumbag neighbor goes, okay. And he goes over and he sets my back porch on fire. And then the vampire knocks on my front door and goes, hey, oh my God, your back porch is on fire. Your neighbor started your back porch on fire, dude. Let me in and I'll help you. And so in a panic, you let the vampire in the house and you get bit by the vampire. That's how they roll, guys. And that's what this New Age movement is, which you don't even need. You don't need New Age. I'm going to address that specifically in just a few moments. Let me get through this first. And by the way, I do have super chats turned on if you'd like to ask a question. Law of attraction, twin flames, whatever. Whatever you want to talk about. Eventually, we're going to get to the part where we discuss, okay, how you fight back is to not fight. It's to not bash anybody. It's to just be aware and then choose something different. There's no need to attack. This is not an attack against New Agers. I'm just telling you what it is. And I'm explaining to you how it's a cult and it's dangerous. And you don't even need it. And it also doesn't make any sense, which is what I'm talking about right now. Here's why it doesn't make any sense. And again, this is a phenomenon that we see in civilization again and again and again in different areas, different facets of society, where you're told that there's no rules and you can just do anything you want, while at the same time being told that there's these other rules that you have to follow that don't make any sense. Like telling people we have to put something in our body, or telling people you need certain beliefs, right? Even though those beliefs don't do anything good for you, they hurt you, right? And we see a lot of that in society. So everything, like, does the sun rise in the east? Well, yeah. But what we're being told in society, left and right, is the sun can rise over any horizon that you want to believe. If you were born a certain way, and Madeline, we can't talk about that. Go over here. Go over here. I just want to say that COVID vaccines are safe and effective, and you should follow the government guidelines. I just want to say that. Yeah. Anyway, and I did actually, the last live stream, I did actually follow the correct guidelines. Well, no, I followed the incorrect guidelines. But what I didn't realize is we're supposed to follow the first set of guidelines, not the second corrected set of guidelines. And those guidelines came from an organization who has the same name as a very famous British 60s rock band, where they were talking about my generation. So make sure that you follow the first set of guidelines, not the second corrected set of guidelines. So I want to be clear. That the vaccines are safe and effective. Anyway, and I'm not anti-vax, actually. I had a tetanus shot and, all that. Anyway, I don't want to get too off topic. So, we're told if the sun rises in the east, that you can believe it rises in the north. You can believe it rises in the west. If you're born a certain way with certain physical characteristics, and remember, when you're born, you're either a yin or a yang. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. If you're born as a yin, you can just say that you're a yang. How about that? Wow. And that's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Eckhart Tolle lives in a country which ordinarily is a nice place to live. I actually lived there for 18 months and I really liked it. I liked the people. It was beautiful too. It was a nice country. Unfortunately, the government is not so nice. And it's even worse than it is here in the United States. And it's actually illegal to talk directly about whether or not you are born as a yin or a yang. And to say that you can only be one or the other, it's illegal to talk about that in that country. You can go to prison. They arrested a little old lady once for doing that. And supposedly they have a charter of rights in this country that enshrines free speech. But you know what's interesting? The very first sentence of their Charter of Rights, it basically says, well, we can abridge your rights as we see fit. We do not have that in the United States, which is why it's harder for them to do that. But still, they try. You know, you got corporations that try to control speech, which is fascism. And they do it because they love you. They really care about you. Maya, thank you for your donation. We cannot talk about that. Bonnie, we cannot talk about that. Thank you. You must follow the established guidelines. Please do not listen to me other than just follow the established guidelines, guys. Make sure that it's the first set of guidelines. Go over here if you want to know what I really think. I got a spanking from Google. I just want to say again that the vaccines are safe and effective, and you need to follow the first set of guidelines, not the corrected second set of guidelines from the organization whose name is the same as an old 60s British rock band where they're talking about my generation. You must follow only the first set of guidelines, apparently, not the second corrected set of guidelines that they published. Okay? Just want to be clear about that. Anyway, man, I'm getting a hella reflection off my neighbor's solar panels. Hold on a second here. I'm going to fix the lighting. Okay, back on topic. New Age spiritualism. She identifies as a Walmart bag. Right. So Eckhart Tolle, he went on Russell Brand and was talking about being born as a yin and saying that you're a yang, or vice versa. But because he lives in a country with a fascist government, that jails little old ladies for talking about that. And supposedly you have free speech, but apparently that's free speech. You can say whatever you want as long as you don't say these things, right? It's doublespeak, 1984, Big Brother. Okay. The analogy he used was, you can just say, I'm Napoleon. I'm Napoleon, I'm Napoleon. And then you're Napoleon. You can believe anything you like. You can believe anything you like. Now, what happens when you tell people that things that are incorrect? What happens when you tell people things that are incorrect, the opposite of reality, and you punish them for not going along with believing in things that are not factual, but rather incorrect? Well, I don't know. It causes mental issues, dysphoria. Madeline, almost every single twin flame coach, teacher, almost every single twin flame channel on the internet. Also, you could read Soulmates and Twin Flames by Elizabeth Clare Prophet, which is further back in time. You know, she was talking about it in the 1960s. The only thing that I would caution you on about that book is she definitely gets into the dogma, which is what causes your twin flame to run. So watch out for that. The core of what she's teaching is true, but then she adds a bunch of dogma to it, which is what New Age does. Well, anyway, guys, where I'm going with this is New Age is all about that. New Age spiritualism is all about that, like blurring the lines and just believing anything you want, and it doesn't matter what the truth is. You could go on YouTube and look around long enough, you'll find spiritual gurus. Madeline, just do your own research, honey. There's lots of information out there. And you're welcome. You're welcome. You'll find it. There's lots of written literature. Anyway, if you get into the pop culture spiritualism on the internet long enough, you're going to find a consistently inconsistent message. And you're going to, like, I've had students come to me who thought that they were spiritual people. Like, I've been spiritual for a long time, and, you know, I took Course in Miracles, and I've been to all these retreats and a blah, blah, blah. And I'm very learned, and I have all this knowledge. Yeah, well, knowledge is not spiritual. And I actually had to explain to them that spiritual is not emotional. The soul is not emotional. And they were like, oh, really? It was like a big revelation to them. And I was like, yeah, look at the classics. And this is kind of what this part of the live chat is about right now, which is the New Agers. You can't really define what New Age is. It's a big grab bag of different beliefs, and it's anything goes. Anything you like. Anything you want to believe. If you're a yin, you can be a yang. And spiritual can be anything you want. So when we get to make up the rules as we're going along, if the sun rises in the east, you can believe it rises in the west. And if you're the other person who says that original person is incorrect, right? The original person is saying that the sun rises in the west, and you're somebody else who says to the first person, that's incorrect, it rises in the east, and you don't get to decide what horizon the sun comes up over, you're bad and you're mean and you need to honor their beliefs. No, I don't. You can't believe that the sun rises in the west. I mean, I guess you can believe it, but then they call that dysphoria. And guys, what good does that do? All that's going to do is cause psychological damage. And the whole thing about being born as a yin and saying that you're a yang is causing psychological damage. I'm just saying. And they're doing it to children. And I got one word for you. Prison. Prison. Prison is the answer. And that is very spiritual. It's very wise. Destructive, perverted people, they need to be removed from society. And that comes from wisdom. I see the vampire at my door and I'm going, nope, not letting you in. Get out of here. That's mean. You're not spiritual. That's what a New Ager would say. And again, New Age, you can't even define it. Nobody wants to admit that they're New Age. And New Age is something that can infiltrate your thinking. And again, it's my belief, it's my opinion that it's an inside job. Right? So New Age, again, is a grab bag of anything you like. You can believe that you're anything you want. You're a unicorn. You're a this. You're a that. As Eckhart Tolle said, you're Napoleon. Just gaslighting the fuck out of people. Yeah, New Age is the old age demiurge energy. That's correct. It's Satan in disguise. It's Satan in disguise. The New Agers, there's no such thing as the devil, as Satan. Well, yeah, there is. Now, Satan is not a conscious being. It is the collective pain body ego of the human race, which is an unconscious entity. It's not life. It's like your ego pain body. It's an entity. It's like an artificial intelligence robot, right? So yeah, there is a devil, Satan, whatever. The first thing that the devil is going to tell you is that there is no devil. Interesting. So again, New Age, it's really difficult to define because it's anything you want. And that's the whole thing. That the New World, something that rhymes with hoarders, which, by the way, they tell you also doesn't exist. Never mind the fact that the elite go around talking about it. Henry Kissinger, George H.W. Bush, Bill Gates, on and on and on tape. I think Bill Gates, pretty sure. George H.W. Bush, Henry Kissinger for sure. But that's a conspiracy. There's no New World, something that rhymes with hoarders. But that's the whole thing, is what it's just sabotage. Spiritualism is consciousness, nothing else. Spiritualism is easy to understand, in a sense. I mean, you can put a label on it, I suppose, to make things simple. We have to use words, thoughts, concepts to communicate about spiritualism. But ultimately, what spiritualism is beyond concepts, words, thoughts, right? But again, in order for me to teach this to you, okay, we'll just say it's consciousness, which that really is the most distilled way to explain what spiritual is. Remember, body, mind, soul. Now, the New Age movement is a product of the system, the vampire, knocking at your door, trying to convince you you can do anything you want and believe anything you want, and spiritual can be this, it can be that. And the whole object is to cause confusion, to stick your hand in the, so you got like a nice organized pile of, I don't know, sticks, Legos, just whatever. You have it all organized by color, and it's all, you look at it and you're like, wow, you like super organized, good job. And then somebody comes in and goes and takes things out, and you know, it's a pile of Legos, and they start throwing in, I don't know, Lincoln Logs and nuts and bolts and a plastic bag and apple core and just all kinds of random fucking things. And then they go, it's all Legos if you believe it's all Legos. So that's why I don't understand why. I do understand why. I got so many dislikes on my original post for this topic today. And again, still like a low number of likes versus dislikes for me is like 95%. And that's one of the lowest I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay. Because I'm attacking somebody's spiritual identity. That's the irony here. I'm a new ager. How dare you? Really, you're into new cage. New cage is what you call that, really. It's just another religion, guys. And it's not even one that's defined. At least, like if you go to a Baptist church, for example, or a Buddhist temple, you're going to get kind of the same, basically exactly the same beliefs that it always has been. And it varies from religion to religion, and some religions are changing too, for the better or for the worse, but at least there's a consistent message with some of them. With New Age, New Cage, first of all, they call it spiritualism. It's not spiritualism. Spiritual is consciousness, nothing else. But with New Age, it's just whatever you want, anything you want to believe. Just to confuse you, to throw you off the trail. The devil wants to throw you off the trail. And they tell you things like eating meat is bad. Really? Then how come it's good for you? I'm not a doctor, so please seek professional medical advice. I'm just going to give you my opinion. But I found out that a ketogenic diet can fix certain, let's say, medical ailments. This is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. Please get your own professional advice. I wish I could remember the name of the documentary, but there was a famous Hollywood producer whose kid had like epilepsy, like really bad. And they tried everything, drugs, they tried cutting his brain, surgery. And then the dad found out about like putting him on a ketogenic diet. And well, I'm just going to stop right there. I'm not a doctor. Please follow established medical guidelines. Please talk to a professional doctor. Also, go over here. Go over here. So we can talk about, things. Yeah, well, anyway, so if meat is bad for you, why is it good for you? Interesting. The elite are always busy telling us that you're going to have to start eating bugs. Eating meat is bad. It's bad for the environment, even though it's not. Meanwhile, they're eating meat, and they get the best quality meat. David Rockefeller had his own farm, and he had only organic produce, which, by the way, I remember I told my grandma one time that I eat only organic and non-GMO, and she thought I was some weird granola, Fruity Loop hippie new ager that eats tofu. And she started grilling me about, you eat meat? You eat meat every day? And I was like, yeah, but it's organic. And here's the thing about organic. Just take out the word organic and replace it with normal. It's normal food. It's normal food. I even told her, the food I eat is called organic, but it's exactly what you had when you were a little kid, Grandma. Before they started and they're starting to like genetically modify meat, and they put vaccines and drugs in the meat. And I'm not even talking about the antibiotics. They got found out about that. They're doing different things now to meat to force certain like mRNA components into your body through the meat. So that's another thing that Big Agra is up to. You got to watch out for that. This is just my opinion, by the way. Never mind that it's empirical. I just have to say that it's just my opinion. Anyway, so normal food is what I eat. They call it organic because they want people to think it's special. And notice how a lot of people have that misconception that it means you're only eating tofu and you're a vegan or something. Here's another thing that they tell you, the new cagers. Competition is bad. Competition is always bad. Now, I would agree that society is way too competitive. So you got competition on this end of the scale, and you got cooperation on this end of the scale. How about we bring that shit into balance? That's wisdom talking right there, okay? You need both cooperation and competition. Unfortunately, there's not enough cooperation in today's world. But just to throw the baby out with the bathwater, yeah, competition is bad. Let's see, we already talked about there is no devil. Owning property is bad. We need to get rid of money, which that's not going to happen. All the communism, the communist ideologies that is part of this mixed up grab bag called New Age, which again is totally, you're unable to define it, but if you believe anything that appears to be even moderately adult and responsible, they just label it extreme right-wing terrorism or something. Like saying that communism is bad. Eckhart Tolle warns people about the dangers of communism. Yeah, communism is bad. You know, the very first thing that you have to have communism is to remove all property rights. Your rights, your human rights and property are the same thing. Human rights as a coin. Rights and property is the same thing. It's the same coin. Okay? And on one side, you got your rights and your property. And on the other side of the coin, you've got responsibilities. This is how the founders of the United States framed the Constitution. And they even call the founders evil, dirty, slave-owning bastards, even though many of them were actually against slavery. Many of them owned slaves so that they could set them free. That happened a lot. Don't you know? Did they teach you that in school? Oh, they didn't teach you that? Some of the founding fathers actually purchased slaves and had them as servants for, 5 years, whatever. And then after 5 years, you're free. They would set them free. And the push to end slavery was already well in motion in the courts around the time that the Constitution was drafted. And by the way, I just want to say the British banking cartel, and this is nothing against British people. I happen to be very fond of British people, but, the big corporations, not so much. The British banking corporations of the day are the ones who brought the slave trade here, and then they bash Americans to this day for slavery, and they only do it to get us to fight. They just want you and me to fight. That's all that's for. Well, anyway, and that's just a straw man argument. That's just a straw man argument to get people to hate on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. If you really understand the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, it's a magnificent document. Genius. And it's all based on protecting your human rights. First time in human history that it was ever enshrined. And if the Constitution is so bad, why does everybody want to come here? You know, the United States is still the #1 most migrated to country in the world by far. I don't remember the #2 country, but it's a distant second place. And there's a reason that the United States has been so successful and everybody wants to come here. And I'm not saying that we're better than anybody else, but you know, our system is the best. It is. The people from all around the world, the populace living in any other place in the world, I believe is just as valid and valuable and wonderful as the people living here in America. What I'm talking about is our system, which they're trying very hard to destroy. So, rights and property. Rights and property. Same thing. Okay. What's the first piece of property you own when you're born? Any takers? Any guesses? Again, this is education that everybody needs. This is absolutely a spiritual conversation. You need to understand what a vampire is. Those are good guesses. Okay. So, your body, yes, is the first piece of property you own when you're born. Toys, perhaps second, right? Okay. You have the right to life. Your body is your property. Now, you can't use your body to violate other people's rights. So now we're going to talk about the other side of the coin. We just talked about rights and property are one and the same. Right? So my body is my property. I have the right to life. I have the right to my body. But I cannot use my body, I cannot use my property to violate the free will and rights of other people. I have a responsibility. If you got a right, you got property, but you also have a responsibility on the other side of the coin. You got a right, you got a responsibility. Can I use my body to inflict harm on somebody else's body? No. It's my responsibility not to do that. Do I have the right to free speech? Yes. I can say anything I like as long as I don't violate somebody else's rights. If you're in a theater and it's dark and everybody's watching the movie and there is no fire in the theater, can you yell? Can you stand up and yell, "Oh my God, there's a fire, everybody out"? No, because people are going to panic. They're going to run out the theater. Somebody's going to get trampled. People are going to get hurt. Somebody could actually get trampled to death. The theater owner, you're hurting their profits, right? So you have the right to free speech as long as you can accept the responsibility. So you can do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt other people. That's your right. Can you own a firearm? Yeah. Can a 6-year-old own a firearm? No. A 6-year-old cannot accept the responsibility. Because a 6-year-old sees the Looney Tunes cartoon and they see Wile E. Coyote getting run over and blown up and he comes back alive every time. And a 6-year-old doesn't quite make the connection that death is permanent and irreversible. So, if you're going to own a firearm, you can never make a mistake. You can never make a mistake. And anybody who says, oh, well, everybody makes mistakes, and so that's why we got to get rid of firearms because there's going to be mistakes. If that's you, then maybe you shouldn't have a firearm. Because the first thing you learn in firearm ownership is, yeah, you're not ever allowed to make a mistake. Ever. Not even one time. And yes, it's possible to do that. So those are just some examples of how you have a right. It's property. Okay? If you work and somebody gives you money for it, it's a trade, or at least it ought to be a trade, an exchange. Why? Well, if somebody else comes along and takes a portion of the money that you made by force, if they hold a gun, they have the authority, and they go, you have to give us 30% of the money you make when you work. What they're doing is they are taking a third of your labor from you by force, and you have to do it. If somebody can take your labor from you by force, what's a good word for that? Anybody? Annie, correct. Which is why in the United States Supreme Court, they said, and I quote, the 16th Amendment conferred no new power of taxation. That's what the Supreme Court said. Now, I highly recommend still paying, like I do, because if you don't pay, you're going to have a bad time. By the way, in 1982, was it called the Warren Commission? I think it was called the Warren Commission. Pretty sure. The Congressional Commission that published a report to President Reagan at the time, because Reagan was like, I want to know where all the money's coming from and where it's all going to. Because he was like, I'm going to fix the budget. He never really did, but still. Yeah, Mary, I agree with you. Although they wouldn't have to charge this particular type of tax that I'm talking about right now if they did use the money that they collect otherwise responsibly. Because here's the thing. Here's what the Warren Commission revealed. And I quote, this is a direct quote. So I just directly quoted the Supreme Court. Now I'm going to directly quote the Congressional Commission, the Warren Commission. I believe it was called the Warren Commission. Pretty sure. They said, quote, not one nickel of the collected is spent on the services that people expect from government. That's almost verbatim. I might be a little bit off, a couple of words, but almost verbatim. all of that money goes to service the debt, which is the Federal Reserve, and you don't even need the Federal Reserve. Lincoln invented the greenback, which was a debt-free note, unlike a Federal Reserve note, which comes with debt. You have to pay it back at interest. I don't know. What was the name of the Grace Commission? Was it the Grace Commission? Well, anyway, you could look around and, you could just type in not one nickel comes from the services that people expect from government. Not one nickel is spent on the services that people expect from government. You could Google that maybe and find it. Maybe the Grace Commission? Well, anyway, all the money they take in that form, none of it is spent on any of the services. Roads, schools, none of it. Roads are primarily paid for with the fuel consumption tax that you pay at the gas pump. Schools are primarily paid for with property taxes, which are also unconstitutional. Public schools are also unconstitutional. Although I'm not totally opposed to public school, I believe that in today's day and age, we could actually have schools that everybody pays into. But public schools, they're not public schools, actually. They are government-run schools. Yeah, it was the Grace Commission. Okay, cool. But yeah, they're government-run schools. They're not public schools. You know how many horror stories there are about people who go to like PTA meetings and you don't have any say-so. And again, they're teaching kids that if you're a yin, you can just say that you're a yang, and that is already illegal. It's already illegal. It's child abuse. You need to take this grab bag. So again, this is the grab bag of, you just believe anything you want. If you want to say the sun rises in the north, you can believe that the sun rises in the north. It's okay. Yeah. If you want to believe you're a pony, you can do that. Yeah. And it's already producing psychological damage. It's already a crime. And like I said a minute ago, I got one word for all this. Prison. Prison. Including the people that make excuses. I think prison. Because no, you don't have the right to say things that fucks with somebody's head psychologically. You have a responsibility to not violate somebody else's property, like, their mind and their mental well-being. On purpose, lying to people. If you want to believe that that tree over there is a volcano, you can believe anything you want. But if you say that human activity is not affecting the temperature of the planet, then you're bad. Even though it's not. So, again, part of the whole New Age hysteria is communism. Telling you that money is bad, owning property is bad. If they take your property away, they're taking away your rights. That's the first thing. The Communist Manifesto. Karl Marx. Karl Marx. M-A-R-X. Karl Marx. Karl with a K. First thing. The abolition of private property ownership. You're bad if you have money. You ever notice the feely-good, new agey is always the extreme left. It's always the extreme left. And then they call it If you're against the extreme left, they call you an extreme right-winger. So I'll be labeled a right-wing extremist or something. Never mind the fact that I actually care about the environment. You know how much plastic they dump in the oceans? You know how much pollution China produces? And nobody says anything. The United States gets bashed over the head for you're a horrible environmental polluter. And nobody says anything about China. Well, I don't know. China is run by the Chinese Communist Party, where they have face scanning cameras everywhere and the social credit system, where you don't have the right to free speech. And it's because they love you. They love you so much. Oh, we're happy, friendly. You know, there's a stand-up act from George Carlin called Liberal Fascism. When fascism comes to America, it's going to be happy fascism. And it's turning into where the lines are being blurred between liberalism and extreme leftism. Like nobody knows what a liberal is anymore. You want to know what a liberal is? Yours truly. Or am I conservative? I don't know. Or they're dumping GMO salmon into the ocean. That sounds like a great idea. Meanwhile, the very companies that are causing the most pollution are the ones telling you you're bad for driving a car and for eating meat. Never mind the fact that plants love carbon, and 100 million years ago, there was way more CO2 in the atmosphere, and there was a lot more like jungle, tropical, there was like larger plant life, more animal life. As there was higher CO2 levels, and guys, that's empirical. You can fact check me. It's in the ice core samples. Greg Braden has talked about this a lot. Like, it turns out it's not true. Like, what we are doing with our cars and our factories is not having an effect on the temperature of the earth. Now, I'm all for getting rid of gasoline burning engines someday because we have to inhale all that crap and coal-fired power plants. I still think we should get rid of that stuff, but not until we come up with a viable solution. Electric cars, I don't even think they're going to be able to pull it off. There's no way. There's no way you're going to get electric cars to go away by 2035. That's just not going to happen. You watch. Mark my words. They're going to start pushing that date out and out and out. They just want to take away your property, guys. What did Klaus Schwab say? You'll own nothing and be happy. It's communism. If you go on Google and look up the Communist Manifesto from Karl Marx, number 1, the abolition of private property ownership. Those are your rights. Rights and property are the same thing. The 9th Amendment of the Constitution actually says, just because we're making a big list of some of your rights does not mean that you don't have other ones. Suspiciously, the Supreme Court has been relatively silent, to my knowledge, on the 9th Amendment. I could be wrong about that, but last time I looked into it, so you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but that would make a lot of sense. There is not specifically a right to travel enumerated in the Bill of Rights, but even the Supreme Court has ruled that you've got the right to travel. How do I know what my rights are? We just talked about that. You have the right to do whatever you want, as long as you don't hurt other people, as long as you don't violate other people's rights. As long as you're not violating other people's rights, you do whatever you want. Can you smoke cigarettes? Yeah. I don't recommend it, but knock yourself out, dude. Can you smoke meth? Yeah, I wouldn't. Just don't leave your house, right? Now, this whole bit about communism, and I even saw this a few years ago, like people pushing communism like it was cool. Or you'll hear the stupid New Agers go, no, real communism just hasn't been tried. Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Go read the Communist Manifesto. Communism is just there. Like, if you understand what communism is, it is specifically there to take your rights away so that the elite can do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah, Guevara, I think is how you say it. Che Guevara. Oh, yeah, he's popular and cool. Yeah, Che Guevara, he was a big hero. No, he wasn't. He was a murderous thug. Wow, Kurt's really right-wing. Am I? Because again, I actually care about the environment. I actually care about personal liberty. Liberal. My best friend of 30 years is gay and Hispanic. Me, a gay Hispanic person, 30 years. And yes, that does prove that I'm not homophobic or racist. You'll hear the commies, they call themselves liberals, left-wing. They're not. That's not liberal. One Soul, thank you so much for being with us. However, I appreciate it. I'm sorry you're having issues. It's fascist. They just put the label liberal on it. No. They'll tell you, oh, just because you have a black friend or a Hispanic friend or a gay friend, that doesn't prove that you're not racist or whatever. Yes, it does. If I was racist, then I would hate those types of people. And I don't give a shit. I've got friends that are white. I've got friends that are Hispanic. And I'm talking about my 4 best, closest friends. There's a Hispanic Catholic dude. There's another Hispanic Catholic dude who's gay. There's a white Catholic dude. And then there's a Hispanic Catholic dude from Argentina. Those are my 4 best friends. And yes, it does prove that I'm not racist. And if you don't have friends of other races, that doesn't prove that you are racist. And if you want racism to go away, I don't know, why don't we just stop talking about it? Morgan Freeman, there's an interview on YouTube with him talking about that. And the interviewer was like, what are we going to do about racism? Oh, racism, oh my God. And Morgan Freeman was like, I know, why don't you just stop talking about it? Is there still racism out there? Yeah, a little bit. Little pockets of it out there. But guys, there's way less than there's ever been. Most people don't give a fuck what color your skin is. Most people don't even give a fuck if you're gay. That's a myth. Are there people that are biased against gay people out there? Yeah, but like this many. We should give ourselves a pat on the back as a civilization for wringing a lot of that crap out over the last 500 years. Good job, humans. No, instead, we got to bash people over the head for the little 0.1% of the population that still talks about that stuff. So everybody's got to be punished because there's a handful of racists. And those people are going to go away anyway because they're just going to fucking die. And then it's not going to be a problem anymore. Yeah, Jade, you're correct. There's still slavery in a lot of other countries. Still! People, America's evil, racist, and they mistreat people of color and blah, 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 blah. I don't think so. I don't think the population is doing that. I think the system does that. But again, who runs the system? The New World, something that rhymes with hoarders, runs the system. The big banks, the corporations. For Pride Month every year in June, which I've been to several Pride parades, by the way, they've gotten a little bit excessive lately. I don't like the direction it's going with the whole, I'm a yin, but I'm going to say I'm a yang, and I'm going to expose my little 5-year-old daughter to that also, which is already child abuse. It's already illegal to do that. And by the way, most of the people in that community don't like the way things are going, including my friend who is gay. And he's like, I don't like that. Most of the people in that community don't like that. Like, there is a line that you cannot cross, guys. Little kids, that's already illegal. Anyway, every June, all the big corporations change their logo to the rainbow flag, right? Really? So all the big corporations just love you so much as they're putting poisonous GMOs and glyphosate in your food. You've been seeing the glyphosate lawsuit commercials on TV lately? Corporations love you so much. They love you. We would never. I would never. Never what? Hurt you. Oh, I love you so much. I would never hurt you. I would never lie to you. I would never. Aaliyah, thank you. Do you think communism appeals because of the corporate greed capitalism permitted? I'm no communist, but capitalism has facilitated major atrocities. I would say yes and no to your question. The issue is an issue of definition, semantics perhaps, because the corporate system that we have in place is not capitalist. It's corporate. It's fascist. Capitalism is mom and pop's Main Street. It's like my website. You have an unlimited right to contract. It's your right, as long as you don't hurt other people. So yes, corporate greed, yeah, absolutely. And it's all about centralization of authority. So the big corporations that pollute the water, pollute the air, dump crap into the oceans, they dump toxic waste into the oceans. China gets to do whatever it wants, and nobody says anything about it, but they bash America all the time, even though we're like literally the cleanest country by far. Basically, you've got like Nike and Apple and all these corporations paying slave wages. There's people that make pennies in China to make our goods, and they're all changing their little logo to the rainbow flag every June for Gay Pride Month because they just love you so much. And we're against slavery, even though we literally employ slaves in China. It's all about centralization of power and control. Meanwhile, wagging their finger at you, you're bad. You're bad. You're bad if you like money, and we need to just get rid of money. You guys ever heard of the Venus Project? Go check it out online. And the Venus Project, it attracts the New Agers like flies on shit. Abolish all private property, centralize authority, let the computers run everything so that we can pursue arts and better ourselves as people. Guys, I got to tell you something. Hard work does make you better as a person. You got to do all the things, guys. I highly recommend living holistically, H-O-L, holistic. Body, mind, soul. Yeah, and you're never going to get rid of money. Bartering does not work. It doesn't work. It works maybe on a local community level. On the local level, right? Like a local community, yeah. And I've talked about this a lot of times. You can't always barter things. Sometimes it doesn't, most of the time it doesn't work. Money is just a medium of exchange. And money is manipulated by the system. If you found out how the banking system really operated, you guys would be furious. They get to do things you're not allowed to do, things that are so obviously unethical that it should be illegal. And remember this, just because something is legal or illegal does not make it right or wrong. Moral relativism, that's something that the New Agers do too. So to be aware of kind of how our world is truly governed and these more practical matters that I've been addressing with you for the last 30 minutes or so is essential to being able to identify the vampire when he knocks on your door. And remember the rules. If you turn the vampire away, he can't come in. Even if you open the door, he can't come in. You have to let him in. Just say, no thank you, to the vampire. Owning property is good, guys. And this is the thing about power. This is the thing about, for example, once again, the constitutional system of government in this country that was so ingenious is they took power and broke it up into little pieces. You're supposed to have more power the lower you go on the pyramid. The federal government in this country is supposed to have the least amount of power. And then you go down a level, and then you have the states. They're supposed to have slightly more power. And then you go down a level, and you have county governments, and they're supposed to have even more power. And then you go down a level, and you have city governments, and they have even more power. And then you go down to the very bottom, which is the people, and they have the most power. Google Bill of Rights preamble. Did you know that the Bill of Rights has a preamble? Go read it. Go read it. You guys need to address these practical matters, guys. Live holistically. You want to be spiritual? That's spiritual. Well, technically spiritual is just consciousness, but consciousness would have you be awake to the way things work so that you can make informed decisions, guys, and be a responsible adult. And it's gotten so bad, we even have to have a special word now called adulting. Guys, make sure that you never use that word again, even in jest. I strongly encourage you. Put your big boy or big girl pants on every day, guys. Meditate every day. Always building spaciousness into your life. This is why I tell you guys, watch Rupert Spira, watch Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass, Alan Watts, meditate, slow down, which is actual spiritualism and always has been. And here's the other thing about New Age spiritualism is they want to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is round, and having it be round works. And you don't need to reinvent it. But we got this new spiritual concept called New Age, which spiritual concept is an oxymoron. Concept is thought. Spirit is consciousness. Consciousness is not thought. It's called square tire, right? That's like the new ager trying to sell this stuff to you. You got to do your healing, 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 healing. The pop culture junk food spiritualism, new age spiritualism online, which again is almost impossible to define because it's a big grab bag of stuff. But the one thing that's consistent about it is it's always like taking away your human rights. It's always competition is bad, eating meat is bad. There's no devil. Owning property is bad. All the things that actually make you free and healthy. And don't get me wrong, I eat lots of fresh vegetables, right? And meat. Balance, guys. And by the way, absolutely, we have the ability, money, resources, and technology to raise enough meat for everybody to eat the correct amount of meat and do it in harmony with nature without torturing animals. You absolutely can do that. We absolutely have the ability to do that. Humans are the only race of animals that tell themselves eating meat is bad. Meanwhile, every other animal's doing it. Almost. I mean, there's herbivores, but... And, I saw a guy on YouTube one time talking about how our teeth aren't even made for eating meat. Really, how come they are then? How come we have teeth specifically designed for eating meat? Just ask your dentist. Fuck the guy on YouTube. I don't know, talk to a doctor. I always tell people this, talk to a doctor. Do all the things, guys. Talk to a doctor and look at alternative things. Make your own decisions, guys. Conventional medicine isn't all bad. It's probably mostly good, actually. Well, anyway, it's always going to be stuff that like limits you and takes away your rights and puts you in a box and puts you in a corner and centralizes authority and control. New age spiritualism, which isn't spiritual. It's a cult religion. And you can do anything you want. You can be anything you like. You can believe anything that you want to believe. And it can be a big grab bag of all these different things, new age. You can believe that you're yin, even if you're yang. You can believe that blue is black. As long as you don't believe that owning property is okay. And they always want to reinvent the wheel. It's new age. It's this new thing that we figured out. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, guys. We don't need a square tire. Spiritualism has always been and always will be consciousness. Rupert Spira posted a video today talking about enlightenment. How did he call it? It was something like enlightenment. You can't think your way there, but thinking... Enlightenment is something that you can't seek, but still, to reach enlightenment, there is a part where you're going to be seeking. It's the strange dichotomy. Annie K, good for you. That's good. By the way, this year, 2023, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but talk about a call for sanity. All the insane things, the wokeness, the wokeisms that have been shoved down our throat for the past 10 years, That shit's on the way out, guys. People are going to start demanding that we get our fucking sanity back. And for the people that want to expose our children to some of the really bad and disgusting perverted things, prison. That's all you need. Prison. This is the year. And all the woke people and all the new agers, you guys are on the way out, dude. People are starting to get sick of that shit. And again, this is not judgment. This is discernment. This is why, please do not type the name of the book in the chat or the name of the author in the chat. Please do not. But there's a book that I used to recommend to my students that starts with the word conversations. And it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's the devil's workshop. That's just my opinion. I have to say that. Although empirically, what I can say about the series of books is they say things like competition is bad, eating meat is bad, there is no devil, and owning property is bad. They also, in the book, prop up the Clintons as this wonderful, amazing thing. How can you tell when a politician is lying? Anybody? How can you tell when a politician is lying? Sorrenthas, correct. When they move their mouth. That's right. How can you tell when a politician is lying? When they move their mouth. The number of honest politicians that I know of, I can count on one hand, and I still have plenty of fingers left. Republican, Democrat, it's all a ruse, guys. It's called a duopoly. And man, the Clintons are like one of the biggest criminal racketeering organizations in the world. And they're not the only ones. The Clintons, the Bushes, those guys, they love each other and they do all kinds of evil things together. By the way, I just want to say for the record that I'm not suicidal. And it's easy to see that I'm not. I love life. Also, I carry. I have a special permit. So anybody want to take me down, you're going to have a fight. I know I'm protected. But yeah, that book, it starts with the word conversations. They talk about how great the Clintons were. And again, the Clintons, the Bushes, it's like a corrupt criminal organization. And I could go on and on and on about all, it's not just them either. You know, I mean, you know, there were things that were done during Ronald Reagan's presidency. You know, guys, they're politicians. Also, the author of this book, I found out that a large portion of the money that the charity that the author started, so the author started a charity organization, a large portion of the funds raised in said charity organization go to the Rockefeller Foundation. There's no such thing as an assault weapon. The difference between what they call an assault rifle and a hunting rifle is one is made out of plastic and the other one is made out of wood. Mechanically, they're the same. It's just about control, guys. It's just about control. And again, it's an inside job. New Age, it's an inside job. Anything you want to believe is fine. Anything goes. And then we're even going to push certain things on you and your children, which will cause psychological damage. And we love you so much. And also, it's not spiritual. You don't need to reinvent spiritualism, guys. It always has been and always will be consciousness. That's why Eckhart Tolle is so popular. All right. I really got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I'll be right back, you guys. I highly recommend you go to the bathroom, take a quick break, go grab something to eat. I'll be right back. All right. Hola. Здравствуйте. Good stuff right there. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Oh, yeah? Hold on. Did you ask me another super chat? Oh, Mia. Yeah. No, I did not answer your super chat. Apologies, but I cannot talk about that. But go over here and we can talk about it. I just want to say this live is going to be the last time that I ever address topics, some of the topics that we talked about today. I'm going to try to stick to twin flames and law of attraction. I don't want to get in trouble. I actually like YouTube for the most part. And I mean, overwhelmingly, like, it's actually a really great advertising tool. It's popular, and I'm kind of loving it. The Google systems. The question was about bugs. Oh, we'll retype it. I don't, I guess I must have missed it. Sorry about that. This is a protein shake. But yeah, no, I do appreciate Google, YouTube in general. It's a very powerful search engine. Unfortunately, they do tend to force their opinion on you, let's just say. But I digress. So that's a lot of the nuts and bolts about the new age, you know. And again, like, I don't think anybody even would call themselves that ever. Even though there were a bunch of people that clicked dislike on the original video for this topic today, I was like, why? Like, why? Like, why would you even want to be willfully ignorant? I mean, new age. Consciousness is intelligence. You're gonna be prone to be awake to evil. Evil does exist. Evil does exist on earth. It's called the demiurge or Satan, devil. And the first thing the New Agers want to tell you is there is no devil. And again, the devil is the collective human ego pain body. It is an unconscious entity. Okay, Mia, when I woke up, I saw the consciousness and awareness in all, and now it feels wrong to kill bugs. Bugs I can take out, but not the tiny flies, you know. What's your take on this? Yeah, I mean, you have a higher level of respect for life. I killed a spider yesterday in my house. I have a rule: bugs, no problem. You guys go do whatever you want. But if you come in my house, you're not going to stay. If the bug was in, if I found a spider in the dining room, and I've done this before, I'll grab a paper towel and try to scoop him up and put him outside. But I found one in the basement yesterday, and it was kind of a big, nasty looking one. And I stepped on it and I threw it in the toilet and flushed it. Now they say finding a spider is good luck, and I appreciate it, but I don't know. I just don't like bugs. I get it. They're part of nature and they're necessary and they're fine. They're not hurting anything, but I don't know. I did feel kind of bad. Like, oh man, why do you have to be in my basement, dude? You know what I mean? I was like, oh man, I gotta kill a spider. Like, I kind of feel bad about it, but I don't know what kind of spider it is. Is it gonna bite me? I don't know. We have black widows in Colorado, so I take them out. Whoosh. Flies, they're just annoying. So, animals eat each other. It's part of nature. I gutted a fish once. I caught a fish and gutted it, and I did not like doing that. I did not like that, but I still ate it. I just want the meat showing up on my plate. I'll eat like a whole chicken. You go to the store, you get the rotisserie chicken, and it still looks like a chicken because it's got the legs and the body, but they've taken the head off and all the stuff inside. I can handle that. The bone doesn't gross me out, but I don't like killing a living thing. But, still we need to do that. And I think it would be a good idea if we appreciate what animals do for us too. Native Americans, some of them would do this, like before they would kill an animal, they would pray to its soul and ask for permission first. I'm not saying you have to do that, but again, the whole New Age belief about eating meat is bad. No, it's not. We're the only animal that calls ourselves bad for eating meat. And yes, our teeth are made for eating meat. Ask a dentist. Ask any dentist. Just fucking Google it. I saw one of these New Agers going, ugh, our teeth aren't even made for it. Yes, they are. We've always eaten meat, guys. You need meat and vegetables. We are omnivores. But do whatever you want. Do whatever you want, guys. You don't want to eat meat? But like I said, I think we should be very grateful to the animals. It would be nice if much of the farming that we do, like where we get the meat from, right? It would be nice if we were more humane to the animals. We could do that. We just don't. But the way things are not the way they have to be. We could live in a very highly technologically advanced civilization with airplanes and cars and spacecraft and meat for you to eat and vegetables for you to eat in perfect harmony with the environment. We could do that. We have the technology to do that today. But again, the corporations who just love you so much that they don't want you to say these things openly, I believe, a big part of this agenda to just confuse you, to just stir things up. Remember my analogy from earlier. Say you take all your Legos and organize them by color. I actually do this sometimes. I still have my Legos from when I was a kid. The last time that I ever used them, I started with like organizing them by color. It was just easier for me to build the thing I wanted to build. And somebody comes in and starts mixing them up and then throwing other objects in there, like a potato skin and some paper clips and an empty beer bottle and a roll of tape and a thing of chapstick and some Lincoln logs and then all this random shit. And they go, it's all Legos, and you can just believe that it's Legos, and you can believe that you're anything you want. That's not even a useful thing to do. And all you're doing is screwing with people's heads. Spiritualism has always been consciousness, and it always will be. Again, that's why the classical teachers are so revered, because they stick to the core teaching. There is no other teaching. Yes, there is a Satan, a devil, right? Demiurge. It's not a conscious being. It is an entity. It's like your ego, only it's the collective human ego pain body. It's an entity. It's like a robot. It's not life. And watch out. That's another thing the system is trying to do, is to tell you that this push for AI, we're going to have robots that are going to be considered living things with rights and everything. No. That's going to be another trick. None of this is going to work, by the way. The system knows that the jig is up. They're talking about doing a great reset. Yeah, there's going to be a great reset, all right. But it's going to be their asses getting justly dealt with. So things like, so I saw somebody in the chat asking about astral traveling. Is that New Age? No, New Age is an agenda. It's there to confuse people, to throw people off our true power as human beings, as spiritual beings, which starts with consciousness. That's always number one. That's where your true power comes from. And then you move out from there into the mental arena and then into the physical arena. And this is how I'm able to learn about these things, to articulate these things. I'm able to identify true justice. What is just? What are rights? What are your human rights? Like owning property. That's your right. Property and rights are the same thing. Right? We already talked about that. If you missed that part, just go back and watch the replay, guys. But you cannot accept a right without a responsibility. If you got one, you got the other. And they've obfuscated the roles that humans play. Different types of people have different roles and purposes, and they just go, you can do whatever you want. There's a population control agenda, but New Age is a part of that. And you see it in the political sphere. You'll see spiritualism is heavily politicized now, which makes it not spiritual. There's this little church here in Denver that I was going to, which bills itself as a spiritual church. But once again, it's New Age. It's just a grab bag of all these different things. And the people there were very nice. I actually had some very pleasant experiences at that church, but kind of towards the end, I started to get turned off because I was like, I was starting to see that. I was starting to see the malfeasance. And they didn't even, people like who consider themselves New Age don't consider themselves New Age. That's the thing. People who are New Age, they don't consider themselves. Because again, you can't define it. You can't define New Age. It's just whatever you want, as long as it's not these things. You cannot be okay with competition. And again, competition and cooperation. There needs to be a balance, guys. Yes, it is true. There's not enough cooperation in our world. But humans just naturally want to do that. That's why, again, you need to break up the power and give it back to the people. I already talked about that. How power actually should flow down, or I'm sorry, flow up. Power should flow up. Eating meat is bad. There's no devil, even though there is. Owning property is bad. All these, all these types of things. Like if you own a firearm, you're bad and you're not spiritual. If you voted for Trump, you're bad and you're not spiritual. Oh, yeah? Well, you voted for Biden, so you're bad and you're not spiritual. Oh, yeah? Well, you're a racist. Oh, yeah? Well, you're a sexist. See, and they just want us to fight. But predominantly, New Age is going to be communist. It's going to have those types of undertones. Like we need to get rid of money. This is why, again, like the Venus Project, that was like really popularized. with New Agers, right? Now, what do we do about all this? And again, this is not judgment. This is discernment. And there's another, once again, blurring the lines, causing confusion, malfeasance, anything goes. This thing over here can be that thing over there instead if you say it is. Anything you like, anything goes, right? They'll even tell you that I'm judgmental and I'm a mean right-winger. Okay. Why? Because if you find out the truth about how things really work, they can't control you anymore. The devil can't control you anymore. The system can't control you anymore. The New Agers can't control you anymore. The wokies can't control you anymore. It's all one thing. There's a big legitimate difference between judgment and discernment. Judgment is where you say, I hate this person. They're bad for being different or something. Discernment is where you see something that does not serve you and does not serve society, and you go, hey, that doesn't serve me or society. I don't care for that, and I'm not going to engage. If you guys want to do that, though, you go right on ahead. Well, I'm just going to go over here and do my thing. So how do we deal with all this? Just be aware of it. When you see the vampire at your door, just say, no, thank you. You cannot come in. And that's the rule. And that's, I believe, really where the legend of the vampire came from, right? Is not letting evil in, saying no thank you to it. Choosing something that does serve you instead. To be a force for good and justice and truth and rational thinking. being fucking rational. So all of these modalities that people could think of, which are not necessarily spiritual, metaphysical perhaps, are they new age? No. They just exist. For example, astral traveling, right? Tarot, telepathy. What? Let's in the chat. If you want to like list some of these offshoot kind of things, we'll just call it offshoot, right? Tarot and telepathy and astral traveling and intuition and runes and crystal ball and what are some other things? Let's help me spitball here, guys. We're spitballing. Annie, I sang that song in choir in high school. Shut the door, keep out the devil. Shut the door, keep the devil in the night. Okay, so lucid dreaming, tea leaves, astrology. Yeah, looking at auras, palm reading, telekinesis, ancient aliens. Past life regression, crystals, chakra clearings, yeah, Akashic records, mediumship channeling. Are these things new age? No. Yeah, Reiki, right. Yeah, New Earth 5D, right. Are these things new age? No. Yeah, star seeds. So these things are not new age. These are just things that exist. It just so happens nobody else wants to talk about it. It just so happens that the only people who seem to give a shit about this stuff are people that tend to be spiritually enlightened. Nobody else will talk about this stuff. I mean, they ought to, they should. There's no reason not to talk about these things. You know, we are remembering our true nature as multidimensional beings. And guys, that's just what happens when you wake up spiritually. You start to realize all of these other things. But all of those other things that we just mentioned are physical and or metaphysical things, and they're not bad. They are not spiritual. Spiritual is consciousness. Always has been, always will be. Remembering who you are. You are the consciousness. You are not your mind, right? Yeah, magic, rituals, all that stuff. Law of attraction, right? Law of attraction. It's not new age. And, you know, it just kind of goes to show you is there such a thing as new age? Right, numerology. Yeah, how could we forget that one, right? Chakra clearing. People think of spiritualism as something that is usually metaphysics or psychology, and like really bad psychology too, by the way. I once saw a New Ager. This person says that they are a spiritual teacher and they're very popular on YouTube. You got to watch out for these people, guys. You got to watch out for the wolf in sheep's clothing. And again, this is not judgment. This is discernment. And I know a lot of these people, they just want to help. I get it. A lot of these people could be well-meaning people. But they're just confused, guys. They're just confused. And what they're telling you is not spiritual, and it's not going to help you, and it's not your problem. Yeah, finally, the very first thing in the list of things that we've been listing that is actually spiritual, meditation. That's like the only thing out of everything that we've listed, huh? Meditation, that is actually spiritual. That's like the only thing that is spiritual. Well, anyway, this spiritual teacher who was a New Ager, and they never call themselves New Ager, but they were telling people, here's how you do healing. You gotta go into your living room or a safe space. That should be a red flag right there. And in your mind and in your heart, relive your past trauma. And then what you do is eventually end up in a ball in the fetal position on the living room floor, cradling and rocking yourself into a frenzy, reliving mentally and emotionally past traumas, bawling and crying about it. And then at the end, you say to Archangel so-and-so. You address Archangel so-and-so with a thing. And then that causes you to be healed. And I don't care where they got that from. Because wherever they got it from, whoever came up with that, quackery. Okay, if you asked a psychologist, they would tell you, don't do that. I'm not a psychologist, but yeah, don't relive past traumas. I think a better thing to do, perhaps, is to deal with them, to maybe enter, some talk therapy about it, talk to somebody, meditate a whole bunch. I even had a psychologist once tell me, mindfulness meditation, do a bunch of mindfulness meditation, and we'll continue talk therapy, right? Because I spent 18 months with a narcissist, and they fucked with my head. And that's how I ended up learning about like how to have, healthy boundaries and this kind of thing, right? How important that is. And again, the New Agers are incredibly narcissistic because they're going to tell you things like, oh yeah, you got to have healthy boundaries. And then when you point out the kind of nonsense they're telling you to do, like this one spiritual teacher with the fucking shaved head on YouTube telling you how to do healing like that, which is the most toxic shit I've ever heard in my life, they would probably tell me that I'm bad for calling it toxic, which is gaslighting. And all you hear from the New Agers, again, cult religion, is healing, 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 healing. And it's always some crap like that type of healing that I just told you about. And again, this is a popular YouTuber, and everybody thinks this person is like really spiritual. That's like really crappy, that's like defective psychology is what that is. That's not spiritual at all, and it's definitely not healing. It's definitely going to make shit worse. Guys, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Adding spaciousness to your life is all you need. If you really do have trauma, then go talk to a psychologist. And I've said this before too. You might have to go shopping for a psychologist. I tried a psychotherapist, and if you're a psychotherapist, okay, I hope you're doing a decent job, because I did not have a good experience. And there's probably therapists out there that are good. However, psychology is the accepted scientific mental health profession. Psychology and psychiatry, although psychiatry, they typically tend to just prescribe you drugs. And I even had a psychologist tell me, yeah, there shouldn't be psychotherapists. So if you're a therapist, please do a good job and learn about the accepted scientific ways to dole out therapy. He called it a soft science psychology. And I think he's right. And it's not going to be perfect. I don't agree with everything that psychologists say, but a good deal of it I really do. A psychologist is even allowed to diagnose personality disorders in a court of law. So I do recommend that. But again, holistic, guys, HOL, holistic, body, mind, soul. So take care of your mind. The object of any good kind of mental health therapy, I believe, should be to end up in a place where you are healed. Healed, right? And that's the problem with the New Agers, is they're always healing, 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 while telling you that that's spiritual. No, that's psychological. And I'm not saying to not do psychological things for yourself. I am saying to do that. But if you do that, please use the proven methodologies. Why wouldn't you? If you need it, most people do not. And hopefully there's an outcome, there's an end game. These healers on YouTube, a big red flag is the ones where you can never be healed and you need more healing from me, which is very gaslighty, right? That's like one of the staple things of narcissism is, oh, well, you need me and you're broken and you're bad. You know what I tell my twin flame students? Because remember, your twin flame is just your soul, right? You're not broken. You just have a case of mistaken identity. And this is why the ancient message of non-duality, consciousness, has always been very popular and always will be, because it's who you really are. You're at your core, you are neither the body nor the mind. You are consciousness. And it's not something that you can acquire. It's not something that you become. It's a remembrance. It's a remembrance, and it just works. This awareness, it just works. And it'll assist you, even in mental therapy, if you need that. But I hope there's an end game to what you're doing. I hope that you can be healed. So, forsake not the New Agers. Because that's the thing, guys. It's one thing to have discernment. It's another thing to take it too far. And this, again, I'm not going to go on and on and on about this. This is going to be probably the last time that I'm going to talk about some stuff like this. I've got a video posting tomorrow about gurus. And I'm just going to throw my 2 cents into the pot about gurus. It's nothing that I haven't already said before a million times on this channel. I love that. There's a person in the chat talking about, you took my paid coaching and then that was it. That was the end. Good. That's the whole idea. I don't want people to need me. I'll give you the teachings, but I want it to work. That means there's an end game. You're not going to need me eventually, right? Anymore. Well, anyway, it's important for us to have this dialogue. Just getting back to what I was talking about a minute ago. It's important for us to have this dialogue. Again, you need to know what a vampire is and if it's knocking at your door. That way you can identify it. This education is important. There is a legitimate agenda from the New World, something that rhymes with hoarders, to overthrow, and this is one way that they are doing that. This is one tool that they are using, but there's many, many other tools that they are using. Many. It's like embedded. It's in everything. The education system, the corporations, everything. It's everywhere. But New Age, which again can't even be defined other than, well, you can't be anti-communist. You have to be communist, but we're going to say that it's not communist, while also saying that real communism hasn't ever been tried, even though it has. And every time it's been tried, it's resulted in massive death. Concentration camps. It's just, and that's gaslighting. I literally, just in 10 seconds right there, summed up that whole agenda right there. To gaslight you. Well, it's not communist, but it is. And anyway, real communism hasn't ever been tried, blah, 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 right? But as long as you don't go there and talk about that, you can do anything you want. You can be a sunflower. You can be a unicorn. Yeah, oh, just love so much. As they're shoving you into the oven. Anyway, New Age is a way to overthrow the legitimate spiritual awakening that's taking place on planet Earth right now. What is a spiritual awakening? An increase in consciousness. Spiritual is consciousness. So again, this is not to forsake. The New Agers. Bless them, for they know not what they do. And here's the thing about non-duality, consciousness. If you oppose something, you place it there. This is not about opposing the New Agers. This is about understanding what that is so that you can protect yourself. Again, how do you know a vampire at your door if you don't even know what a vampire is? Unfortunately, there is evil in the world, and that's one of the first things that New Agers tell you. Oh, there's no devil. That's the first thing the devil would tell you. And again, the devil is not a living being, it's an entity. So you look upon those who have succumbed to evil, and usually they don't realize that they've done it. Again, most of these people, they legit want to do the right thing. They legit want to help you, but they're confused and they fell for the trick. They fell for the dirty trick of the system, of the devil. Some people are legit evil, but the more evil you are, the higher you seem to go in this evil system of things, right? These are just souls who forgot who they are. These are just souls who forgot who they are. And they have the free will to do what they're doing. And I wish them the best. I just want to be aware. And again, this is the part of the conversation where one of those very same people could jump in and go, well, Kurt, you're just being mean. This isn't about awareness. You're attacking them. No, I'm just describing what I see. And I'm calling on people to use reason, logic, and discernment to not get hurt, guys. You need to understand what a vampire is so that you can say, no, thank you. I wish you well, but I'm good. Discernment and judgment are very different things. So, just choose differently, guys. If you fight evil, it wins, because that's duality. And duality itself isn't necessarily bad, but it's that separation consciousness that they're trying to suck you into. We're good, and we got to stop the bad. We got to stop the evil. Acceptance, which can only be done by remembering who you are. It's consciousness, it's spirit. It's God Almighty within you. Everything is perfection. The question is, what is the definition of perfection? Well, what is? Now, I may look at part of the perfection and say, well, this part of it does not serve me. So no thank you to the vampire. So I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to protect myself from it. I'm going to take steps to protect myself, even physical steps, right? You know, if you don't live in the United States where you can have a firearm, I don't know, maybe you keep a baseball bat next to the door. I don't know. Is it because you're evil and violent? No, it's because, I don't know, what if a bad guy shows up at your door? You know, I don't know. Does that make you not spiritual? No, it makes you smart. I'm going to make sure to only eat normal food. Or again, what people nowadays call organic. People think organic food is special because it has a special name. No, guys, conventional food is special because they have to do things to it. Organic food is actually normal food. So deprogramming, right? And I'm going to go ahead and protect myself. I'm going to stay abreast of the whatever's going on in the legal system. Yeah, Cayenne Golding, I think we're good, my friend. I think we have plenty of terminologies. Thank you. We're good. So there you go, guys. I think you get the gist here. I want you to be happy. I want you to experience as much joy as possible. But it's infinitely more difficult to experience joy if you allow evil into your life and if you fall for society's lies. And people are going to do what they're going to do, guys. There's a lot of good people out there that make mistakes and fall for things. They fall for tricks. And we try to help them, but, you know, I don't know. All we can do is our best to protect ourselves and our loved ones. And I got to tell you guys, I am so satisfied with life. I've been put through the ringer. I've gone through the school of hard knocks. I came out okay. It's all right. I worked hard to get where I am too, you know. Hard work is good for you, right? And yeah, you know, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. True. But you got to do both. You got to do both to build a better world. You can't take human effort out of the equation, right? To build a fairer and more just system of things, which is where things are going. There is going to be a great reset, yes. But it's going to be a righteous great reset. It's not going to be the great reset that the elite scumbag pedophiles at Davos are talking about. Just my opinion. Opinion. I have to say that. But again, go over here where I can be a little bit more frank. I don't want to endanger my YouTube channel. I do very much appreciate YouTube. I really do. YouTube and Google, they are marvelous systems. They're great. And I think overall they're fine, but you know, sometimes I don't always agree with their decisions, but so be it, guys. So be it. We're going to build a system of our own that'll be just and fair and free. And that includes the discernment and knowledge to protect yourselves and go off to live a life of joy. So there you go, guys. That's the deal with New Age religion. New Age religion. I hope I have given you something of value today. I hope I have explained things in a way that is easy to understand. It's a complex topic in some ways. You know, 2.5 hour long live such as this. I was only going to go for an hour, but I don't know. I love talking to you guys. You guys are okie doke. You're a-okay. I got a great community here. So thanks for that. But I hope you got something of value out of this today. And I got news for you. One of the most important things I'm going to be doing over here is helping to build a New Earth community. And you can do it with your mind. You can do it with your mind. We can change the world with our minds. That's kind of the direction New World All-Star is going to be going in. Is making the world a better place. And it all starts with belief, guys. It all starts with belief. We just talked about all of the bad things, and they're not inherently bad. It's just things that don't serve you is a better way of saying it. Doesn't serve you, does serve you. We got to talk about the things that don't serve you so that when the vampire comes to your house, you can go, oh, that's a vampire. No, thank you. But 99% of the time focused on what does serve you. So right now I'm kind of in the setup stages on this live chat, for example, and especially over here talking about, hey, let's make sure to identify the things that don't serve us and get that all done so that we can switch our focus to the things that do serve us. And that's kind of my plan for the next year with New World All-Star. All right, you guys, you're fucking beautiful. Thank you very much for watching, you guys. I'll see you next Wednesday. We're going to talk twin flames next Wednesday. Have a great week. Mwah! I'll see you. See you next week. Bye.